Hey everybody, welcome to the program WRSA Radio. I am your host, Grenadier One. What a crazy week this week has been as the Rittenhouse trial continues to make waves out there. The mainstream and the alt media and social media are all very consumed by this fiasco. I've been just absolutely disgusted by this whole thing and how it played out. However, just before I started recording this show, we got the verdict, and it's, thank God, thank baby Jesus, not guilty on all counts. I rarely have I ever gotten emotionally connected or taken up by something like this. But I gotta say, this when I saw that verdict come across, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. You know, I can only imagine how Kyle himself felt, and you could see his visible reaction in the court as he collapsed practically, from relief, and so I'm so happy for that young man. Remains to be seen whether this will turn into some kind of riot situation there in Kenosha or other places. So we may have to ride the fallout of this thing for a while, but hopefully not. Hopefully not. Hopefully things calm down and cooler heads prevail. But anyway, I honestly expected that the jury would come back fairly quickly and acquit him of all charges. I didn't really think they would return a verdict on day one, but I expected, day two to be the end of it. I had no idea that it would take 4 days, but the outcome that we got is the one that we wanted, but it does not excuse the conduct of the prosecution. The fallout from this should be disbarment, in my opinion, and perhaps even prosecution of the DAs in this case, because they maliciously pursued this case in the face of all the evidence. As I said, I'm disgusted by how this all played out, but I'm happy that the jury system worked in this case, and I'm happy that honestly all of this case was caught on video, because I believe without those live streams, I'm fairly certain that Kyle would have been in jail a long time ago. I think without witnesses, or without the number of witnesses, without the video there to capture all of that with no bias, I think the witnesses would have told a different story, even more twisted and perverted than what they tried to do on the stands anyway. And I think that probably the defense would have said, "Look, this is not going to go well for you, and you're going to have to take a deal." So, thankfully, the video, which just goes to show you the pervasive nature of the video, in our society, that as much as we don't like it, there are times that having it around is probably a good thing. But anyway, regardless, and I've spoken about this on Gab already, this trial, as well as the trial for the Ahmaud Arbery shooting in South Georgia, should strip away any and all remaining respect that you have for the judicial system in this country. It is rotten from top to bottom. And it will take a complete gutting and remodeling to bring it back to any kind of truly functional state. Because this case should have never gone to court. It should have never been there. We should have never had this razor thin walk in the line for this young man's life the way that we did. Anyway, enough about that. Like I said, I'm ecstatic about it. I'm really happy about it. I can't say enough how happy I am for this young man. But I didn't want to make that the focus of the show as we spent last week talking about it. So I'll move on. What I wanted to talk about this week was going back to the previous series we were discussing over the last few weeks on forming resistance. We can tie this week in a little bit with what we're seeing unfold this week, because this week we're going to look at another aspect of resistance, and that is what I will call low order resistance. This was something that was mentioned to me on Gab by a commenter, so I want to give a shout out to Shit Show and thank him for the suggestion on this, because it was really something that he brought to my attention and said, "Hey, this is another aspect that I think you need to talk about." So we do that. What do I mean by low order resistance? Well, think of it as resistance at kind of a crawling pace, or more of a mainstream, more visible pace. The first steps that someone might take who's never taken any kind of resistance step in their lives. I want you to imagine that you're a local resistance leader, and you're trying to build and form a resistance movement in your town. And this should not be hard to imagine, guys, because even if you don't know it yet, this is exactly the position you find yourself in. So get accustomed to this and begin thinking in this manner, because we are behind the ball here. We got a lot to make up. Anyway, you're trying to form a resistance group in your town. Do you think it's a smart play or smart move to put a sign in the square and go sit out there and say, hey, do you hate the government and its tyranny and you want to resist? Ask me how. You think that's how you go about it? I mean, of course not. You want to go through a process here and maintain some anonymity and at least look like you're on the up and up to avoid the eye of Sauron as it is. People in our camp worry with good reason about infiltrators and bad actors coming into any group that they put together. Well, we've already talked about various layers of resistance in previous programs and how those work with one another. And this is the outermost layer of your local organization. It's the easy stuff, that the simple first steps you use to bring people into those larger organizations. So right now, school boards are a big thing with CRT and all of the sort of confrontations taking place at school boards, and people are trying to assert some authority or some control over those by the parents and gain positions on those school boards. Vaccine mandates are a big thing. People are protesting that, pushing back on that, fighting that in court, and protest various things. Prosecutors and law enforcement are a big thing, as we've seen in this Rittenhouse case and some other cases. Prosecutorial misconduct. Hey, gaining control of your sheriff's position or DA positions, those kind of things with people who are friendly to our way of thinking can have a big impact. So forming grassroots local political organizations focused on some of these areas is a good way to get people moving and to select from them. So, and before you say, well, that stuff doesn't work, that's not how we're going to win this, it doesn't matter. That's not the point of it. Okay, don't miss. That would be a good end result if you get somebody in a spot, but it doesn't have to happen to achieve what we're talking about here. It's a good way to sift through some of those potential bad actors as you evaluate people working in these lower order roles. You can pick through them. You can sift, and you can bring into your more active and more deeper layers of your organization, shall we say, or higher layers, however you want to look at it. For example, let's say you go to the local school board meetings and you see that you've got a lot of angry parents who are opposed to some kind of, communist ideology that's being taught in your local schools. And you pull them aside and say, hey, look, we can fix this if we get candidates on the board. Maybe we can outright dissolve this board and populate it with people who are sympathetic to our political stance. We just need to get our person on the board. Well, then you go about that process, and that becomes a low order operation that has a real goal that works towards your desired outcome, but it serves that second purpose. You get this organization formed and you have meetings and you bring people into it and you get the opportunity to meet them and speak with them and, more importantly, to evaluate them for suitability for other things down the road. Even if you only have this organization active for a short period of time to achieve some short-term goal, which honestly is a mistake. You should, even if you don't achieve that goal, you should keep the organization going. It still gives you the ability to ID those people and be able to move them into greater roles down the road. And maybe maybe through the course of this, you ID someone who's prior service military, who could fill the role of being a trainer or some type of senior NCO in your more militant or armed wing of your organization. Maybe you meet someone who works at the county courthouse who has access to, insider information. Nothing illegal here, but just the casual things that you see going on in the inside of the government every day. The things that the city council does, who's who, how they operate, how they think. Again, more of those comments that they make that they might be a little more guarded about and not make publicly, but they're fine making in the office. Having somebody that sees those things gets you a little bit more information about those people. And that person can serve as a source of intelligence for your S2 organization. Now maybe that's not the route you want to take. Maybe you don't have those issues exactly in your area, so it's harder to get people motivated to resist something they're not really seeing the effects of or seeing, in practice in their local area. For example, the vaccine mandates. We don't really have any protests here in Georgia because they're not really a huge problem. There's some private companies that are doing it. There's some pressure to do that, but it's really not something that's hugely impacting, our lives right now. So people aren't really, I think it'd probably be kind of difficult to get people motivated to come out and do a big protest here until something happens down the road. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. But that's okay. So maybe this is where we get into things like putting out flyers in suburbs or your local big city. Can you get 10 people together who are willing to go into the local big city and put flyers on cars or stickers on road signs or stickers on light poles? That's low order resistance. It serves the same purpose. It's very low risk. Dropping business cards with provocative political statements all over the place, putting stickers on stop signs. I love the stop sign and the palette or the canvas that it offers, because anything you want to stop, get a sticker made that says mandates and go to the stop signs and put that underneath the word stop. So when the person pulls up to the stop sign, they see stop mandates. It's just a little kind of psychological thing that plays on them. The more they see that kind of stuff, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, it starts working in there. All kinds of little pokes and jokes that work on people's, at a lizard brain level. That's how you red pill people, okay? In the suburbs, we have people driving around putting little cards and things in mailboxes all the time. They're advertising like lawn service or whatever, their church or all kinds of things. So spending an hour or two in a day and hitting 300 houses with a card on the mailbox is real easy, low risk, low effort way of getting a message out there. Two guys in a truck or a car putting them out and then getting out of that area, that's the way to do it. And just really easy, simple kind of things like that. Now let's shift gears a little bit, because that is the more outwardly or more obvious active stuff. Let's go back to something we've talked about in the past. I've spoken about gathering intelligence. This is another pathway you can use to bring people into the fold. You need to build an intel gathering organization. And to be honest, a good deal of that work is grunt work. It's sorting through websites and documents and all kinds of information sources to build a picture of the thing that you are looking at. Well, that's another avenue for introduction. For example, maybe you got 5 or 6 people that you know already that are are sympathetic, but they're not terribly excited about the idea of doing anything risky. So they want to do something, but they're hesitant to do anything that's going to get them in trouble. Cool. Low order work is, filling in this role for your intel section. You have these individuals local to you that you want information about, or I hesitate to use the word target there, but because it has a certain connotation to it. But when you're talking about things that you're specifically looking at, you can use the word target. So you produce a list of requirements related to those targets, and it may not be people, it may be locations, it may be a building or something like that. You give that list, of those targets and those information requirements to these people in your group, and you set them to work. Guys, go get me this info on these targets, and that's all they need to do and all they need to know. They don't know what you're going to do with it. Maybe you're not going to do anything. It's just collection information for later. It doesn't matter. They don't have to know that. I think you're getting the picture here without me getting too much more into greater detail there. But again, that's another way of utilizing people at a lower level. Now let's shift gears again here. Recall that we have talked about logistics in the past, and I had someone bring that up this week on Gab as well, and talk about how important it is and how the right in general is very inwardly focused with this. We tend to look at ourselves and say, well, I'm prepping, I'm preparing, I've got these things for myself, I know that's good. We don't necessarily begin to think about logistics for a larger group. Concerned American this week posted a link to a very good video from a YouTube channel that is related to American Partisan. I believe the YouTube channel is called S2 Organization or something like that. I've linked to AP a few times myself and spoken of things over there on their page before. This video was about making iron rations for later consumption, kind of making your own MREs. This is now becoming a focus for that specific channel, and they actually created a new channel just for the resistance kitchen or iron kitchen, as they're calling it. I can't remember exactly what term they were using, but the links are over on the mothership, so you can find them over there. Just go check those out. At any rate, this gives us yet another opportunity to bring people into the fold. And I apologize for the beeping, folks. There's some kind of big heavy lift thing going on outside of my place, and they're backing up. So apologies for that. But anyway, moving on. Many rural or suburban areas are seeing an increasing level of hunger and food related problems. We're seeing churches and fraternal organizations running food banks and soup kitchens in maybe places that they didn't necessarily do that before. I know I see it a good bit around here in rural churches and things as I drive around. These organizations are trying to meet the needs of their community. Becoming involved with or taking the lead with one of these operations begins to build both your logistics organization as well as staffing it with people and giving you that recruiting source that we were talking about. Again, low order resistance by shifting the loyalties of people from the government back to their church or fraternal organization, which means they are more than likely going to reject the tyranny coming from government. They're going to look to people who are protecting them and helping them and providing for them. And if that's not the government, that's not a good thing for the government, right? Now, as we face these shortages that we know are coming, and running one of these operations is probably going to become harder and harder. But as long as it's legit, then you have a means of accessing official donations and sources of supplies that other people may not have access to. And that may turn into a source for your local resistance group down the road. Hiding in plain sight is the strength of the resistance. Swimming in that sea of fishes. The soup kitchen that feeds the poor out the front door and the G out the back door is going to be very difficult to detect and really going to be difficult to stop. The intel operation that disguises itself as a leftist group and goes out and collects names and information on a petition to support some kind of leftist cause, but is not in reality supporting that leftist cause, that's going to be hard to detect and stop as well. And we could go on with those kinds of ideas, but I think we'd be giving too much away to the bad guys, too much information, too many TTPs there. So I'll leave it at that, and hopefully just this sets your imagination to work, and it gives you some ways to interact and work with people that you already know who may be sitting on the fence about how they can contribute and make an impact. Approach them. Come up with one of these ideas that fits your local area, and see if they'll bite and see if they'll take it up. So that's all I got time for today. Come see us over on Gab and the Mothership. And as I write this, I would ask you to say a prayer for Kyle and for his family and wish him well, and for his mother as well. This whole thing has been a nightmare for them, and I have to imagine that, like I said earlier, the greatest relief of anybody in the country today is probably what he felt a few hours ago. So anyway, like and subscribe, folks, and I will see you on the next episode.